Welcome to Get Plugged In, a Society of Actuaries podcast, the podcast that brings new ideas to actuaries and those involved in the insurance and risk assessment ecosystems. I'm your host, Blake Hill, an actuary that's worked in strategy and implementation of new ideas at an insurer, and for the past 5 years worked at an InsurTech. Today's guest is Ken Leibow, CEO of InsurTech Express, and I'm excited to listen and learn from his insights. Thanks for joining Get Plugged In, Ken.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you, Blake. You inviting me. I'm a big fan of the SOA, so
It's great, and we've run into each other for years now at different events, and it's great to actually have you here to share your insights because your story is a little bit different than the typical one that we have on here. So, for the audience, why don't you just give a short background on yourself and how you ended up kind of starting InsurTech Express and kind of what InsurTech Express is all about?
certainly. Yeah, I've been in the life insurance business for 36 years. I've been on the distribution side, working for National Wholesaler as well as Select Quote Insurance Services. I've been on the carrier side, working for Mutual of Omaha and Genworth Financial. And then on the tech side, I worked for Ebix, and then I was the COO of Integrated Insurance Technology. We had the largest data exchange hub that was eventually sold to Oracle, which is a Fortune 200 company. So over those years, I've been able to build a very large network because I've been very active in participating in all the major associations, committees for process improvement, and for building out data standards, like working with Accord and LIMRA and IRI. I know we're a whole industry of acronyms, NELBA, NAFA, etc. And with that, I had in 2019 had this vision of saying, we see in the life and annuity technology world a lot of fragmentation, a lot of overlap on different projects being worked on from an industry perspective. And the whole mission and vision was to bring all that tech together in one central resource location and leverage the big network I've been able to build out over the years. And with that, that's what InsurTech Express is all about. Our services include marketing, consulting, software development, information, and sales platform and tools for the industry to use, whether you're a carrier, distributor, or advisor. And that's what we're all about, all for life and annuity technology.
Oh, very cool. And so it sounds like you've been doing this for quite a bit of time. So, what was really the genesis for, you said you saw that market opportunity, was it coming from just the growth in the technology side? Was it the combination of that with the need from insurers and then looking for support? Like, what was kind of that real aha moment? There's an opportunity here.
Yeah, I think it was. There were a couple things. Thinking about 2019, this is pre-COVID. I was kind of at a crossroads where at the company I was working with, at the same time, I had a personal tragedy. A brother who passed away always told me, Ken, you should start your own insurtech business. We've been building up all this network over the years, and then looking for people who just kept coming to me for help. We're sending out an RFP. We're looking for a job. We're trying to find out what's the landscape on a particular platform, whether it's policy administration or illustrations and quoting. And I think the genesis of saying, well, let's have a mechanism where everyone can go to get those resources they need in the industry, and all those things together, just as kind of a perfect storm, is what drove me to build out the first iteration of our platform and launch the company.
Great. And you touched on this just now in your earlier question answer, where you talked about the network you'd built over all those years of working across many companies, many associations. So when you bring this new idea of kind of this marketplace concept, how do you pivot from connections you had built from, say, your commercial roles, where you're either building or networking for customers in terms of building software, supplying software, to now being a marketplace for that? So, what was that shift like, and how did you build that kind of your business around that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the first thing we wanted to do was reach out to all of the vendors that we knew in the space, the key vendors, and have them provide content so we could build out that content. And then we marketed out that content through digital and social media. So I'm a monthly contributor to Broker World Magazine and to NAFA's Advisor Today. I'm an influencer on LinkedIn, maxed out at 30,000 connections, over 30,000 followers. And with that, by first building out the content and marketing it out, plus getting the exposure of going to all the major conferences, and then promoting those conferences live with photos and articles and blog posts and things like that. Combination with an SEO company we hired, okay, too, which helped get the word out there about our products and services and our company with high Google rankings. All of that together got our network up to 200,000 B2B between carriers, reinsurers, distributors of multiple distribution channels, insurance and financial advisors, and over 1,100 visitors a day to our website.
Oh, very powerful stuff. That's great. So you've done a great job, it sounds like, in terms of at the top of the funnel, getting people to be aware of the business and the work you're doing. But I got to ask the tough question. So what does it mean in terms of getting some of those people to actually build the connections to between the carriers and the reinsurers, as you said? You've got the consulting services, but you're also representing the insurtechs. How do you kind of move that forward? And really what I'm trying to ask at is there's a lot of kicking of tires. There's a lot of like risk averse, methodology in the industry you're in. So how do you get those people to go from just looking and, being aware to actually trying to make change?
Yeah, I'd have to say, not sure who the inventor is of APIs, but I think that in the old days, it was very difficult, painful to integrate partners seamlessly. But leveraging APIs, we're able to, when we look at industry problems, and I never like to take a solution looking for a problem, like to take an industry problem and say, what's the best fit for a particular, let's say, carrier or a distributor or a reinsurer who's trying to solve their problem. And because there's so many different components and InsurTech solutions out there, because of APIs, whether you're trying to build out the experience, but you need the engine, or you've got the engine, but you want to get it integrated into another software package that it complements to get broader exposure and adoption in the marketplace. And I really believe that besides all the awareness and the consulting that we do, that the way to actually make it happen are APIs. I mean, honestly.
Oh, very good. And that's it's a really powerful kind of statement in terms of like how much has changed. An API probably 5 years ago, people were really struggling to understand. Now we just say it and everybody kind of knows what it is. So I'll ask a little bit more about your business and kind of where you're at, and then I'll pivot to a bit more about your insights that you can share with other insurtechs. But within your business, I'm sure you've had pivots and changes and adjustments to your plans along the way. What was one of those changes that came from market feedback from, you're talking with somebody and you're like, oh, never thought of that. That's interesting. Like, let me take the business, my solution that way. Do you have any of those insights that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that that's the one thing I love about not, I know it's cliche. Do you have competitors? Yeah, you have competitors on software development and consulting and stuff. But from the perspective that we work with the whole community and all the different vendors and carriers and distributors, all sides of the fence, being that central hub, that we get a lot of great input and a lot of things that we learn. And I have to say that one of the things that really pushes the technology out there that I didn't know about was the fact that, the scalability is, everyone loves to put labels on because they want to be everything to everybody. So they say we can, we're built for large companies. We're built for small. We can handle small companies. We're scalable, or we've got all these features because we want to show that we've got everything. And then what you learn when you look under the hood, that really whether it's their strategic model or their platform has one core power to their software solution, and the others are just kind of light add-ons, that's not, there's no one size fits all and everybody fits for everybody. And even though a lot of companies say they do, when you get down to the real project or you're trying to quote it out and you look at the pricing or the resources needed to implement, or the functionality, you really learn that's not true. And I think everyone should stay core to their strengths and partner with others that complement the pieces that they're missing, and not try to say they've got every piece to the puzzle, because that's doing a disservice to the clients. And I didn't learn that completely until I really got involved in those projects, trying to solve those problems for the industry.
Yeah, it's a really good insight. It's one of those, I think, as companies mature, they get comfortable kind of narrowing their path and saying what they do and what they don't do, and mature enough to have, respected partnerships with, which might have been in the past competition, because they tried to be all things to all people, and then they realized actually there's better ways of working. So that's really good insight. And I, actually, this podcast is designed for both sides, right? The actuaries, the people involved with the Society of Actuaries, the insiders, as I call them, that want to learn more about insurtechs and support them and maybe work there, and then vice versa for the insurtechs to learn more about industry insiders. So you're one of those people that have actually been on both sides, right? You've got that history, like a few of us, and obviously a very rich history in terms of the experience you have. So, you understand this next question I'm going to have is around the complexity, right? So as an insider, you get the complexity, you understand why some of it's there. But then as an outsider, someone trying to change and disrupt and bring simplicity and ease of use, you also need, you understand that that's a value. So how do you support and coach, those in your ecosystem when it comes to finding the balance there? What are your thoughts, insights for that?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I learned when I worked at Oracle, which is, one of the largest tech companies in the world, is the fact that that one of their biggest business drivers is middleware, where you don't have the exposure, but you don't have the spotlight, but you're that piece to the puzzle. And what I like to say is, you don't need to be the car. You can be the steering wheel. And so when you look at a project, it's especially if it's a large project, okay, it's good to get an independent consultant. It's good to get specialists in different pieces of it. And some of them will, and some companies can have 2 or 3 pieces that may fit nicely. And then others, I'm going back to the thing I said before, and others have a good fit. And I really believe that when you're approaching a project, don't try to own the whole project. Provide your value proposition, and also recommend others and partner with others, okay, which really provides better service to the client, that say, hey, we do a little of this, but if I bring in so-and-so company, this is what they specialize in, and we integrate really well with them. They're experienced with our solution, we're experienced with theirs, and that will really help you with your project, right? And that's the way I look at it. Again, that's the philosophy that I believe really works. It's try to partner in the industry.
That's great. That's great feedback. And I will say that I've seen that mentality among the insurance carriers from my time there, now working on the other side, much more open to, I don't need a single shop to be my complete end-to-end solution. That best in class sometimes mean putting things together. And like you said, if it's well-functioning software through APIs, those integration points are quite seamless nowadays. So why don't we end with a question I'm sure you could spend hours on, but I'm going to ask you to try to, keep it succinct as possible. But let's end on a note of advice for those, thinking about joining the industry from the insurtech space. What would you give as those kind of nuggets of gold from your experience?
Absolutely. For me, it's the networking. Go to key industry conferences. Everyone's got budgets, but pick the ones that you think you're going to get the most value of it. And not just attend it, but proactively participate, whether you're an exhibitor, a sponsor, a speaker, on a panel. Also, if you look at associations that do process improvement, building out standards in the industry, participate in that, on those that are relevant to your business, because not only are you going to learn more, but you're going to find partners and customers by doing all of this. Okay, so it's going to be a win-win for your company, and you're also giving something back. And because of that, you're going to become a kind of a cog in the industry wheel, where you're just going to unsolicited get business opportunities and be able to grow your company. If you try to be siloed about it, and you try to be too proprietary about it, and if you don't are actively out there then you're going to hit a wall. And this is the way that you can really grow and get multiple revenue channels and be part of the community. So
very good insight. Good insight. I think some of it's, as an industry, it's a very technical, well-trained, group of people we tend to work with. So that, I like that's a polite way of saying that sometimes it can be skeptical. They like the depth. They like the industry leaders, and as you said, the thought leaders. So it's a good piece of advice you just shared. So thanks very much. This has been a very interesting conversation, and I want to thank you for taking time to share it with the audience.
Thank you as well. I appreciate the invite.
Great. And I want to thank the audience for taking the time to listen to the Get Plugged In podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to the Get Plugged In podcast, and be sure to share the podcast with others in your network.
The views and opinions expressed in Society of Actuaries podcasts are those of the speakers or authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of their employers or the SOA. The opinions expressed should not be construed as legal or professional advice and are provided for educational purposes only. Please see the terms of use on SOA.org for more information.